Blake Lively, once adored for her charm and elegance, is now facing a barrage of criticism for her alleged bullying behavior, both on and off the screen. From snide remarks about her co-stars to cold dismissals of fans, the cracks in her polished image are starting to show. But has Blake always had this dark side? Or is this a shocking new revelation? Blake Lively has always been known for her charm and wit, but recently, her jokes have started raising eyebrows for all the wrong reasons. One of the most glaring examples of this is her habit of making jokes at the expense of others, particularly when it comes to relationships. For instance, during a conversation with one of her supporters, Blake casually suggested that the person should leave their boyfriend. Meant as a joke, sure, but it came off as incredibly inappropriate and out of place. This kind of humor might have been brushed off in the past, but today, it feels disconnected from the reality of her audience.
For instance, her offhand remark suggesting someone should leave their boyfriend seemed completely out of place and struck many as inappropriate.
What's more, Blake's refusal of a friendship bracelet at the It Ends With Us premiere only added fuel to the fire. While one might argue that she was simply not in the mood or it didn't match her outfit, the fact that her co-star, Isabella Ferrer, graciously accepted the bracelet without hesitation painted Blake's actions in a negative light. To the fans present, her refusal felt like a snub, reinforcing the perception that Blake might be out of touch with the people who support her. It's moments like these that suggest her casual, offhand remarks and actions are not just jokes. They're signals of a broader disconnect from her audience and the general public.
This disconnect with her audience became even more apparent during the London premiere of It Ends With Us, where an eager fan offered her a friendship bracelet. Surprisingly, Blake declined it, stating it didn't match her outfit.
Then there's the incident where Blake told fans to keep quiet during the It Ends With Us promotional tour. Now, I get it. Crowds can be overwhelming, and there are times when even the most patient celebrity might need a moment of peace. But the way Blake handled the situation wasn't just about asking for quiet. It came across as dismissive and rude. The fans were excited, hoping for a bit of interaction, and instead, they got a shutdown from someone they had admired for years. This incident has only added to the growing negative perception of Blake's personality. It's a stark contrast to her days on Gossip Girl, where she was adored as the stylish and seemingly sweet Serena van der Woodsen. Back then, she could do no wrong in the eyes of her fans. But now, these public interactions are showing a different side of her, a side that many are finding hard to reconcile with the beloved image she once had. Blake's behavior towards her colleagues and interviewers hasn't helped her case either. One of the most shocking moments was when she referred to her Gossip Girl co-stars as monkeys. That kind of language, even if said in jest, is bound to leave a sour taste, especially when it comes from someone in her position. It's the kind of comment that makes you wonder if there's more behind the glamorous facade. Her interactions with co-stars like Braden Sklenar also reveal a pattern of pushing for compliments or controlling the narrative. In one instance, she seemed to pressure Braden into praising her during an interview, making the whole situation uncomfortable to watch. It's as if Blake is fishing for validation, which, instead of coming across as endearing, feels forced and insincere. And let's not forget her infamous interview with Kirsty in 2016. When the journalist congratulated Blake on her pregnancy, Blake's response was less than gracious. It was an awkward moment that clearly embarrassed the interviewer, who later shared how the experience had haunted her for years. Blake's dismissive attitude in that interview, and others like it, has only added to the growing list of reasons why people are starting to view her as difficult and unapproachable. Blake Lively's tendency to downplay serious issues has also rubbed many the wrong way. Take her comments about pregnancy cravings, for example, when she dismissed the idea of pregnancy cravings as just a way for women to seek attention. It was a slap in the face to many expectant mothers who go through real, often challenging experiences during pregnancy. As someone with a platform, Blake's words carry weight, and this kind of flippant remark can feel dismissive of other women's struggles. Her behavior in interviews, especially those that touch on serious topics like domestic violence, DV, has also been criticized. Instead of addressing the issue with the gravity it deserves, Blake has been known to crack jokes or shift the conversation to something more lighthearted. While humor has its place, there are times when it's simply inappropriate, and this is one of those times. Her tendency to joke about serious topics not only reflects poorly on her, but also suggests a lack of awareness about how her words might impact others. Blake Lively's career has been marked by associations with some pretty controversial figures, and it's these connections that have left many people questioning her judgment. Take Woody Allen, for instance. Despite the swirling controversies and serious allegations against him, Blake has publicly praised his work, calling it amazing and describing him as empowering to women. Now, it's one thing to appreciate someone's art, but to completely overlook or dismiss the troubling accusations against them. That's where things get complicated. What's more, Blake admitted that she hadn't even read up on the allegations, which makes her praise seem not just misguided, but downright irresponsible. Then there's her connection to Harvey Weinstein, who, before his conviction, was a powerful figure in Hollywood. Blake, like many others in the industry, had worked with Weinstein and had positive things to say about him, at least publicly. She claimed that her experience with him was entirely positive, and that she hadn't heard anything about the allegations until they became public. While it's true that people often keep things like this under wraps, her initial comments have felt tone-deaf, especially given the gravity of the accusations that came out later. It wasn't until much later that she acknowledged the importance of believing women who come forward with such stories, but by then, the damage was done. Blake's association with controversial brands has also raised eyebrows. One incident involved her promoting a children's clothing brand that came under fire for its inappropriate marketing strategies. The brand had released a series of photos featuring children in a way that many people found unsettling and downright creepy. Despite her usual advocacy for children's safety, Blake was seen wearing this brand, which led to a lot of criticism. It seemed hypocritical, especially given her vocal stance on protecting children. This was another instance where her actions didn't quite match up with her words, and it's part of why people are increasingly skeptical of her public persona. Blake Lively's on-set behavior has also come under scrutiny, particularly during her time on Gossip Girl. Reports from the set suggest that she was often intentionally late, sometimes by hours, which naturally caused delays and frustration among the cast and crew. Being late is one thing, but doing it regularly and intentionally, that's a whole other level of unprofessionalism. It gives the impression that she believed her time was more valuable than everyone else's, which didn't sit well with many people involved in the production. The awkwardness didn't end with Gossip Girl. On the set of The Town, Blake had to film a bed scene with Ben Affleck, and she later described the experience as incredibly uncomfortable, particularly since it was her first day on set. While it's understandable to feel awkward in such situations, her discomfort seems to have carried over into other projects as well. For example, during the filming of It Ends With Us, Blake reportedly felt uneasy during a kissing scene with co-star Justin Baldoni, and she even felt body-shamed when Justin asked about her weight due to a concern over his back problems while lifting her on set. Her behavior in interviews with co-stars has also raised some eyebrows. America Ferrera, for instance, was caught on camera rolling her eyes during an interview with Blake, which many took as a sign that there might be some tension between them. When your co-stars start showing visible signs of discomfort during interviews, it's a pretty clear indication that something isn't right behind the scenes. Whether it's her comments or her general attitude, Blake has managed to make people around her feel uncomfortable on more than one occasion, and that's not a great look for anyone. Blake Lively has also earned a reputation for being controlling, particularly in public situations. One example of this is her habit of rearranging other people's outfits in public, which she might see as a caring gesture, but others view as overstepping boundaries. Sure, fixing someone's collar or adjusting a piece of clothing might seem harmless, but when it's done repeatedly and publicly, it starts to feel less like a favor and more like an attempt to control the narrative or the person. Psychologists have even coined a term for this kind of behavior as crown straightening. It's meant to describe someone who tries to elevate others, but in a way that also keeps them in control or in the spotlight. Blake might see herself as someone who helps others look their best, but to those on the receiving end, it can come across as attention-seeking or even manipulative. It's these kinds of actions that have led some people to label her as a limelight stealer, someone who always needs to be the center of attention, even when it's someone else's moment. All these actions, whether it's her associations with controversial figures, her behavior on set, or her public interactions, have led to significant backlash from both fans and the media. Social media has been particularly brutal, with old footage of Blake's questionable comments and actions resurfacing and painting her in a negative light. The It Ends With Us promotional tour seemed to be the tipping point, where everything she said or did was scrutinized, and not in a good way. The media has picked up on this backlash, with many outlets questioning whether Blake's carefully curated public image is starting to crack. The once beloved star of Gossip Girl is now facing a wave of criticism that shows no signs of letting up. Fans who once adored her are now questioning whether they ever really knew her at all. The perception is that Blake's recent behavior isn't just a series of isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern that's been there all along, just waiting to be exposed. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.